Well, folks, I am getting a bit burnt out. On USA stamps. So I have spent the better part of the past 2 weeks trying to wrap up my entry to the Minnesota State Fair stamp collecting contest. And in doing so, I have gone through a lot of my USA stamp collection. And the result was, first of all, an entry that I don't want to submit. There's a whole host of reasons why I'm changing my mind, but I've decided not to send this into the Minnesota State Fair, in part because this is quite a valuable page. And then, when I made that decision, I turned to my quest to collect one of every-ish USA stamp as maybe the next thing I wanted to dive into. And I sort of felt, ugh. And it's hard to explain why, but when I feel like that in stamp collecting, what I oftentimes do is embark upon a new journey, a new quest. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm not setting down my USA stamp collection forever by any means, by any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to take a bit of a break. And instead, I'm going to embark upon a new journey. And as I've been thinking about what that next journey will be, this arrived in the mail. A special thank you to this stamp shop for providing a little bit of a discount on these stamps. These are a great set of Basuto Land stamps, one of my favorite King George VI stamps. Great set. And I received this thinking that it would help me on one of my long-standing dreams, which has been to fill the gaps in this album. So this is one of the crown jewels of my collection. I found it on eBay for a song several years ago. I reviewed it in another video, and I'll drop that in the description of this video in case you want to see the whole thing. It was put together by a collector by the name of June Ross in 1975. And it is a remarkable collection of King George VI stamps. And one of the things that makes it so remarkable to me is the condition of both the stamps and the album. It is not easy to hinge into place this many stamps and have the hinges hold for as long as they've held, combined with the pages themselves are like new. It's just remarkable to me. She must have absolutely loved this album. And as I've mentioned elsewhere, I have long since thought that it would be fun to build upon her work and to carry her collection forward by filling some of the gaps that she wasn't able to get, and then, do my best to put together as complete of a collection of King George VI stamps as I could. And so as I've been thinking about a new journey for me to embark upon, I thought, well, heck, maybe now is the time to really try to build upon her work and make the collection my own. So it was with that in mind that I ordered these stamps. So they arrive, and as I opened it, and as I started to imagine myself, even just imagining myself, starting to hinge into place these wonderful stamps, I cringed. I just don't think I can do it. And the reason has all to do with how stamp collecting has evolved over the years. And so that's what I thought I would share a little bit about, as I also ask for your advice and talk a bit about what I have planned and actually give you a chance to weigh in and prevent what some of you will undoubtedly see as a mistake that I'm considering. So, when June was collecting stamps, the best way that she could put together her collection in 1975 was to use stamp hinges and an album such as this. And so that's what she did. She was able to purchase, somehow, some incredibly valuable and very, very fine stamps. And then she used hinges to mount them into place. And when she did that, unbeknownst to her probably, she damaged the stamps. These new stamps that she hinged and basically glued into this book would have been so much more valuable, but also more rare and more sought after had she not used hinges. So now that I am the caretaker of her book, I want to use her stamps as the basis of my collection because they are so beautiful. And my choice is to buy new stamps and either A, put mounts into this book. I've talked about stamp mounts elsewhere. I could use stamp mounts in this book, and that would preserve the back of the gum. Or I could hinge them into place. If I were to use stamp mounts, what that would mean is this book would look really weird to me. Stamp mounts, having an occasional mount in a book like this that is predominantly or is entirely hinged would seem out of place. It wouldn't feel right. And so I decided I'm not going to mount the stamps in here. So what I could do is use hinges, and I could focus on buying stamps that already have light hinge marks, and I could put them in here. But at the end of the day, as a modern collector, I cannot bring myself to do it. I know that if I were to put a hinge on this, even if I bought stamps that had light hinges already, light hinge markings on the back of them already, in other words, damage to the stamps, I would still be damaging the stamp. I would still be contributing to damaging that stamp, and I just can't do it. Next part. Back in 1968, when this book was made, there was no focus on using things like acid-free paper. And so these pages, over time, will damage the stamps. And eventually, even though this book has been very well maintained over the years, eventually there will start to be damage to these stamps. So, as a modern collector, I know that I can preserve them better than this. I just know I can. And I can put them together in a collection that honors the work that she has done, preserves the stamp, and makes it my own. And so that's what I'm considering doing. Considering removing the stamps from here and using them as the basis for my new collection of worldwide stamps. I want to focus on British Empire. I want to focus on the reign of King George VI and the others, because British stamps are fascinating. But what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about embarking upon a quest to put my entire collection into one system. All of it, with the exception of my finest stamps, which I will continue to use top loaders for, like I've shown elsewhere. I have a plan to put together my entire collection into one curated set of albums that will feature my finest, my entire work, my entire collection, from the most common of all stamps to some of the more valuable ones. It sounds thrilling to me. It sounds energizing. It sounds like something I want to be doing. Which again kind of rekindles my spirit for stamp collecting. Not that it's diminished in any way, shape, or form. I'm just a little tired of USA stamps. And to be candid, part of the reason for that is that I'm hitting a wall of needing really expensive stamps in my collection, along with some expensive Davo albums. And so I've just kind of been hesitant. So this is a way to rekindle the joy. All right, so what do you all think? For those of you that have seen this album in the other video, how big of a tragedy would it be for me to pull the stamps out of here? It is a remarkable collection. June loved this book, and I do too. I just feel like I can preserve the stamps better. And I feel like I can build upon her work in a more modern way, in a way that carries our stamp collecting hobby forward. This project also builds upon what I said I would be doing in 2024, which is this. I haven't forgotten about this for all of you that have asked about it. I said I would be focusing on a worldwide journey using this album as a basis. This is Robert's album. And I said my 2024 quest was to fill the gaps in here. Well, I've hit the same wall as I did with June's album. I just don't want to hinge stamps right now. I just don't. I want my stamps to be protected in a way that's better than hinging, and that also is better than having them ultimately into a book like this and sitting on my shelf. I know I can preserve them better than that. So, I'm imagining a worldwide journey that goes through my entire collection, focusing on the best stamps, the finest stamps, the most valuable and rare stamps, telling you all of that I learned from that process. The result then being a fully curated stamp collection from A to Z countries. Oh, I think that's so exciting. I am excited for that. All right, so that's what I have in mind. Now, back to the question at hand. Stamp collecting has changed. When June was collecting, there was certainly a sense that stamps would continue to skyrocket in price well into the future. They dipped. The values of stamps dipped, in large part, because of the advent of eBay and the sudden realization that what stamp collectors thought were rare stamps turned out to be more common than they thought. Well, guess what? Our hobby has recovered from that dip. Today, stamps are in demand. It is getting harder to find quality albums online. Prices are skyrocketing. I won't say skyrocketing. Prices are going up. And specifically, very fine stamps like that one are sought after. And to be honest with you folks, I think they're going to continue to be sought after. So, I'm not going to put stamps into this book. I also very, very much want to preserve these stamps in a way that is better than on this paper in this book. This book is already 60 years old, almost 60 years old. So what would you do if you were me? I'm ready. I'm ready to begin this journey. but I just can't bring myself to hinge stamps into here. What do you think? Meanwhile, I am excited to embark upon my journey regardless of what I determine to do with June's album. I have a plan that I think is going to be tremendously fun and take us all around the world in search of history, in search of stories, in search of cool stamps to geek out on. I'm going to go country by country. I'm going to dive into topics I've never even considered before. And meanwhile, I will continue to be collecting USA stamps, though my updates on that journey may be a little fewer and far between because this is going to be my focus. I love Irish stamps. I love so many stamps. I think that was part of it too, is that in my Beginner's Guide to Collecting Stamps series, I have talked so much about focusing. You know, that's right. I know that's good advice. Focus your efforts is important because there are so many different topics to become fascinated by. But the truth of the matter is, folks, I am a worldwide collector. And I'm going to lean into the fact that I just am fascinated by a lot of things. And, let this be a lesson in that if you ever reach a point where you're starting to lose your passion about a topic or a collection or, anything, just shift your focus a little bit. Just move your mindset a little bit and you can rekindle that joy. All right, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you again for joining me on a video. If you liked it, go ahead and like it and do subscribe to the channel. It means a great deal to me. Until next time.